So my old friend Michael, well, that's unfair, he's not that old, but I've known him a long time, asked me to prepare a simple fluoro-free wax kit for some marathons in the upper Midwest. Berkey, Cordy, those are a big deal for him, but also Great Bear Chase, maybe the Noki, some stuff in Michigan. Great Bear Chase is really interesting because it's up on the Keweenaw Peninsula, total lake effect snow, really different microclimate. Generally speaking, we're looking for a kit to provide really high level performance in a fluoro-free racing environment in typical cold winter conditions. We're not going to try to cover sloppy, dirty, wet spring weather, so we're going to keep it pretty simple. If it's sloppy, dirty, and wet, Michael promises to give me a ring with about 8 days notice, and we will panic at that point, because everyone will panic at that point. Starting from the base layers up, what I propose to Michael are a couple of basic paraffins, block form paraffins. Star Next include some of the ceramic additive. They're nice to train on, good day in, day out waxers, except that these days you don't need to use them day in and day out because you have liquids you can use day in and day out. These could go 100, 200 kilometers on the ski in between waxings for regular training use, as long as you're using the liquids to keep the surface updated. Why block form paraffins? Why iron paraffin at all at this point in time? Well, heat still does let the wax go into the base. We got a video plan to cover that one with my buddy Jacob Scheckman, who is really qualified to comment on it. But these are really broad range paraffins to condition the base, change the bulk properties, provide base of support for good surface layer lubrication. The cold is a synthetic paraffin with a very, very broad range. Will run right up to freezing and more aggressive snow. And the medium is a pure natural paraffin, petroleum based, that makes a really happy base, makes the base kind of glossy and greasy. And it'll also run down to snow temperatures in the low 20s easily and support great performance there. They're both really good to work with, broad range, and just good for basic use. I didn't include this matte black. This is a graphite. It's a really long-standing favorite. It's pretty heavy graphite, so you want to really, well, first of all, it's hard. It's going to harden the base off and provide a lot of anti-static properties for upper peninsula, Keweenaw. This is critical stuff. It always helps the performance up there, and I don't know why. It's not true everywhere. In general, I wouldn't use graphite unless you have a lot of local knowledge and you really know it's going to help. This stuff will help for the Great Bear Chase, pretty much guaranteed. But you got to get it on the ski, you got to cool it, you got to scrape it, and you got to brush like crazy. If he doesn't already have one, I'm going to tell Michael he probably needs this Red Creek Gold brush. Super, super fine bristles, German stainless steel that will get into the structure and really clear this matte black off the surface, because you don't want graphite on the surface. You want it in the base. You're really going to dilute it with subsequent layers. From there, we're going to do some base layers of race paraffin. Again, we're ironing. This stuff is powder form. I'm sending him the Polar because it can be real cold up there. The Polar is a tremendous cold weather wax. It's beaten a lot of fluoro waxes in our testing in the last few years. If you're racing fluoro or fluoro-free, this is worth having in your tests. It just seems to run really well. The Cold is the same paraffin base as the training wax, but it's higher additive content and better support for race performance. And the Medium is the same basic paraffin base as the training medium, but again, higher additive content. These are powder form paraffins, super easy to put on and very, very economical. The biggest reason for the powder is that the ceramic additive that's in these will fall out of suspension in high enough concentrations, so it's hard to make a block form with an even distribution of powder in it because it tends to accumulate at the bottom of the molten block of wax as it's cooling. In powder form, you get a really even distribution with optimal content in terms of the ceramic additive. So Michael's gonna wax with this, scrape and brush as per normal, all very simple. And then we're focusing on some liquids for surface layers. Surface layers are working with fluoro-free more or less the way they've always worked with fluoro products. We're trying to build microfilms on the surface of the fastest compounds we can use. We're allowed to use in this case, having to be fluoro-free. These are once again the same basic chemistry as the other waxes, and we're looking at a familiar cold and medium lineup here because they have super broad ranges. In the alcohol distribution, they go on with a sponge and they dry very, very quickly. And then we can use this handy dandy fleece. This is our punk fleece, so called because of its long hair. This is David and Moseli figures that punks have long hair. And I brought this nice soft nylon brush along just in case, because they stack together. 70 millimeters fleece and 70 mil brush stack on a 140. For the liquid, what we want to do is apply the liquid, let it dry, takes about a minute, and then buff it with a fleece. And you want high speed, so we have this quick connect hex fitting that'll go right on to a nice little impact driver like this, which is a cheap way to get 3600 RPM. Woohoo. It's pretty cool. As you can see, the end of that handle, the shaft has the hex connect. Bingo. All right. With the liquids, I recommend 3 layers. In our testing, the skis keep getting faster as we apply layers. It's super quick. You don't even have to take the ski off the bench. Put a layer on as soon as it's dried, which will take less than a minute. Buff it, and you get ready for the next layer. That's it. That's kind of it. If conditions change, if the snow's older, if Michael needs some help in a range of different conditions, or if they just don't seem to be working, he's going to call me up. There's fleece applied blocks. There's other brands. Rex makes great liquids. You got to put them on a little further in advance, but it's got really, really good track record in the upper Midwest. Vouti liquids have been awesome, particularly when the snow's a little older and more transformed. There's lots of product out there that can really help performance in this fluoro-free environment, but you need to start with a baseline. You need to establish a baseline and a method and a working procedure that you can add to as you want to bring products in, instead of just trying to accumulate everything in the world and not have a system to work it in. Anyway, this is the system. Hope it works, Michael.